In this session, we'll get an introduction to SSIS, we'll go through the SSIS architecture, and finally, we'll go through the SSIS object model. If we talk about the learning objectives, once we are done with this video, you would be having clear understanding of SSIS. You should be familiar with the SSIS architecture. You should know what SSIS object model is. And finally, you should understand what are the common usage scenarios of SSIS. So SSIS stands for SQL Server Integration Services. This is one of the integration tool provided by Microsoft that is a part of MSBI stack, which includes SSIS, SSAS, and SSRS. So SSIS is a data integration tool that is used to design, implement, and manage complex and high performance data integration applications. This is also called as ETL application. ETL stands for extraction, transformation, and loading. So extraction means when we are trying to pull data from different sources. It can be a heterogeneous sources. So it can be Excel sheet, it can be a flat file, it can be a SQL Server table, Oracle, Sybase, DB2, or anything. Then second is transformation. Transformation is when you are trying to apply the business rules on the data. For example, if I pull customer information from any of the sources, maybe Excel, and I have a first name and last name of my customer. I want to transform them in such a way so that when I load data into the destination, it has to be a full customer name, which includes first name and last name. This can be achieved by transformation. So transformation is one of the component in the SSIS which is used to apply the business rules on the data. Second is the loading. Loading helps you to store the data back to the different destination. It can be again a flat file, it can be Excel, it can be a SQL Server table, it can be Oracle or Sybase. So extraction means pulling out the data, transformation means applying the business rules, and finally we have to load them to a certain destination. So in a nutshell, SSIS is one of the data integration tool that is used to pull data from various sources, transform them as per the business rules, and put them to a destination. Let's go through the SSIS architecture. If we talk about SSIS architecture, it has different components. For example, we have SSIS Designer, we got SSIS Wizards, we got integration services, and many more. All these components works in collaboration with each other. So let's go one by one. Let's discuss about SSIS Designer first. So SSIS Designer is one of the graphical tool that is used to design an ETL application. It is an integrated development environment which is provided with the Visual Studio. So in order to go to the SSIS Designer, we have to go to the Start menu, All Programs, Microsoft SQL Server 2012, and then SQL Server Data Tools. When you launch this, it will start a Visual Studio shell, and here we have new project and open project. So we'll go through the new project. Here you can specify a project name, let's say SSIS for now. Click on OK. Once you click specified the project name, it will open a complete graphical environment. Here we can see now we have an SSIS as the solution name, and we have couple of components here and there. We got toolboxes, we got properties, we got solution explorer. So this is basically a SSIS Designer which helps you to create a rigorous ETL application. Now next is SSIS Wizard. If you want to import data or export data from one point to another point, it can be a data source to a destination. In that case, we can go with the SSIS Wizards. So here it will provide us the managed .NET framework or the native OLEDB provider. This native and managed. It helps us to import and export data from one point to another point. So in order to use the SSIS Wizard, we can again go to the Start menu, All Programs, Microsoft SQL Server, and here we have an import and export wizard. So if you are working on a 32-bit environment, you can go for import and export data 32-bit. If you are working on the 64-bit environment, you can go with this. So let's go for a 64-bit environment. As my machine is of 64-bit, it will launch a import and export wizard. Click next. Here we have a data sources. So in the data source, you can have different type of providers. So here, as you see, we have a .NET framework for ODBC, Oracle, SQL Server. They are the managed one. And we have a flat file. We have a OLEDB provider for analysis services for SQL Server native client. They all are the native one. So let's go for the SQL Server native client 11.0. Now, we have to provide the server name. So by default, it's taking up the local host. You can also provide the server name from where you want to pull the data. Next is authentication mode. So we are going with the Windows authentication mode. You can also go for using SQL Server authentication. And finally, you have to select the database from which you want to pull out the data. So here, let's say I want to go with the AdventureWorks 2012. Click next. Then choose a destination. So as I said, we can go for storing data to different destinations. So here, let's say we are going with the flat file destination. Now I have to provide the location where I want to create the file. So let's go for browse. Here I am giving a name, let's say employee in my solution folder itself. Click open. Then code page is by default 1252, format is delimited, text qualifier none, we are good. Click next. Then we have two options. Either I can go for specifying the tables or views from which I want to pull the data, or I can go for writing a query. So if I go for writing a query, it will open up a writer where you can specify your SQL statement, or you can go for browsing to an existing SQL script. So we are trying to go with the table. We want to specify the table or views itself. So select the first option and click on next. Here I have lot of tables, right? So let's say I want to go with the AdventureWorks human resources employee table. Let's select this and click on. You can also edit the mappings as well. If you want to edit the mappings or change any sizes or something like that, you can do it. So we are good as of now, and we are clicking on next. Now you want to save this package or you want to run this package. So by default, it selects the run package immediately. Or if you want to save it for later use, you can use it. So let's go for running the package immediately. Click on next and finish. Now it says 290 rows been transferred. So now you can either save this report to a file, to a clipboard, or you can directly send to an email, or you can directly close it. So as of now, I'm just closing it. Let's go back to that folder location. The projects, I would be having SSIS, and here I have this employee.txt. So you see all the data has been imported by the this import export wizard from the AdventureWorks table. So this is the SSIS wizards. So basically it used the native and managed providers for pulling and storing the data. Then we have a command line utilities. Command line utilities helps you to execute the SSIS package from the command prompt. So you can use dtexec.exe or dtexec.ui.exe. So they are the two command line utilities that is used to execute a package either from the file system or from the your integration services server. Then we have the integration services, which includes the integration services runtime. This runtime is basically save the layout of your package, it executes the package, and it provides support for logging, implementing the breakpoints, implementing configurations, creating and managing connections or transactions. So that is basically a runtime that is used to maintain the layout, that is your .dtsx file. It is called as an SSIS package, and then it will monitor and help the execution of the package inside the SSIS DB catalog. We'll cover those points later in the object model. Now, once we are done with this, we should be having a package that is the top level component of the ETL solution. So package can have different tasks. So if I go here and if I look at the solution explorer, I have a SSIS, that is my solution, that is my project. And you see by default, it creates an SSIS package, right? So that is my basic unit of work that is used to initiate a task, and it will monitor the execution of all the data movement from one point to another point. It can have the task, it can have the containers, it can have the different type of enumerators in the containers. We can have the connections, we can have the event handlers, we can have the data sources, log providers, task and custom task. All these components will learn in deep in the object model of SSIS. So basically, if we talk about the SSIS architecture, we have the SSIS designer that is used to design the ETL application, SSIS wizard that is used to pull data from one source and put it to a destination. Then we have the integration services service that is basically a integration services runtime that is used to store the layout of your SSIS package, and it help you to create the loggings, to configure your package, to execute your package, and monitor overall execution of the packages. Then we have different type of executables at the package level, that is a control flow and data flow. Data flow includes the sources, transformation and destination. So basic ETL is being performed inside the data flow task, that is ETL.